Hey, everybody. We're here on National Signing Day, February 2nd, 2022. We've got Coach Wilcox for you here to chat about the signing class that has now reached 17. Go ahead and let me know in the chat what questions you have, and we'll go from there. We'll go ahead and get started with Jeff Ferrato. Go ahead, Jeff.
Justin, I wonder if you could take us through individually the three high school guys you signed today, Mendoza, Brown, and Sydney, and talk about each of them and what you see in them.
Yeah, Fernando Mendoza comes to us from Florida, and he is a guy that we had been watching and kind of got much more intrigued as the recruiting process went on. There was a connection with a coach who has actually had NFL and college background that had a relationship with him. And so Bill especially really kind of dove into it and started getting to know him and had a chance to watch him play on tape, of course, and then see him in person and visit with the family. Then he came out on a visit and we spent a lot of time with him. He's a very, very intelligent guy. He's a big guy. He's probably 6'4", 210, 215. He's a kind of an all-around athlete, but he can really throw the football and got a huge upside, we think. And his demeanor lends itself to being a quarterback. He's got that disposition, and we think he's got a really, really bright future. So we're excited about him. Jackson Brown, right here in our backyard, highly recruited guy, coveted by a lot of programs, and got a big frame. He's a big, strong guy, still going to grow, as a football player, but a guy that we targeted very, very early on, and excited to have him join us. And again, guy that's right here at San Ramon, right in our backyard, and somebody that we made a priority early on in the process. And then Cam Sydney, really liked, early on in the recruiting process, coming from Mater Dei, where we have a history of Mater Dei players being here at our program, and those guys generally have done really, really well for us. Very smart guy, very instinctive. We think he can play corner. We also think he could be a really good nickel, very competitive guy. So really like his skills as a football player. He's kind of a natural. And so we're glad to add those three guys. We also added three guys mid-year that we didn't announce in December that transferred. So we got some new faces in the building, and they're hard at work.
If I can ask you a little bit further about Mendoza, he was a guy who was being recruited pretty heavily, I guess, by a couple of Ivy League schools, but there wasn't a lot of attention seemingly from, Power 5 programs. What did you guys see in him that others might be missing?
Well, he's obviously a very intelligent guy. He was recruited by the Ivy Leagues. I think the upside, I think the overall athleticism and his ability to throw the football, playing in some really good leagues against some talented players. And we just feel like he's got a very big upside. And the recruiting process, we don't really get hung up on who is or isn't recruiting them. I know that becomes a story, but really all that matters is we feel really strongly about him, and he's still got to continue to grow and develop like every player does. But we're excited to have him and get him here this summer.
Reading his comments, he sounds like a very confident young guy.
He is a very confident guy. He's a very competitive guy. Again, plays multiple sports and, carries himself like a quarterback, that you notice that right when you meet him. And so I think you take all those things and the ability to throw the ball, and he's got height. I mean, he is a big dude and he's going to continue to grow. He's still a young person, but I think all that, the meeting him and being around him gave us a lot of conviction as well, because those intangible traits are hard to measure off game tape.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go to Jake Curtis with Cal Sports Report. Go ahead, Jake.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you a little bit about transfers in general. A million of them this year. Is that a product of the year that didn't count last year? Is it a product of the immediate eligibility? Is it going to continue like that? What do you think?
I think all that, Jake. I think you're right on it. There's more players in the system, so to speak, because of the COVID year. The ability to be eligible right away has a lot to do with it, and it's just the new part of the new era of college football, and it is different for everybody, and everybody's being impacted by it. We feel really strongly about our positioning in it. We're not going to be an outfit that takes 25 transfers every year, but we're certainly going to supplement our rosters with transfers and guys that we feel like fit our program and our team. So, and we've done that. It's just part of what college football is now, and we're going to adjust and make it a net positive for us.
So do you think this is typical? And
Well,
how has it affected recruiting?
Well, those spots that you would have allotted to either JC or high school players now can be taken by, four-year college transfers. So there's maybe that's one way. Is this typical? I don't know. I don't know if we don't have enough data or history yet, because it is early on in this new age of immediate eligibility and transferring and one-time free transfer. And so I don't know, there's a lot of guys that are in the portal. There's some of them who haven't landed yet. And I think it'll be important in the future, just that the players have an idea of what's available, how many scholarships are out there, versus how many guys are in the portal, because I think some of that has probably shown up around the country where the number of names in the portal and the number of scholarships available don't quite match. But it'll be interesting to see how it goes, Jake. I think we're all going to learn as we go, programs and players. But this is just part of the new way of college football. And like I said, we're keeping our knees bent. We're going to adjust with it, and we're going to make it a net positive for us.
One last thing. Some coaches have said maybe there should be a rule about limiting when you get into the transfer portal, when you can sign them. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think the timelines, it would probably make it cleaner for roster management. I think that would be something that would be helpful to put some guidelines around that on the dates, so when those things are going to come up, so you can plan and manage your rosters a bit cleaner. Right now, with the ability to essentially go in the portal at any time. Now, there is a deadline if you want to be eligible in the fall, but it is in a place where essentially a guy can go in at any time. And if they change that and kind of give it some tighter windows, great. I don't know if that's going to change people's minds. It's just going to change the calendar or the actual transfers themselves. So.
And is Charrington the director of everything then?
We have a horizontal structure. We got some really good people. You talking about Marshall? Yeah, who joined us. Marshall was with us, as you know, a couple of years ago, and then he was working down at USC, and we were able to get him back. But he will be player personnel. But we've also kind of elevated Zach Boshin, Benji Palu, Derek Haithcock, some other guys that work in recruiting, and it's kind of a horizontal structure. And Jake, ultimately, I'm the one that makes the decisions, and I meet with all those guys. And we have a couple of our coaches are heavily involved in organization. Everybody's involved in recruiting, Jake. I mean, everybody in our office. Burl Toller has a large role in organization, as does Pete Sermon, and we've got a really good group of people.
I was just wondering whether it changed a little bit because of all the transfers.
Not necessarily. No, we just we have a process to evaluate them, obviously athletically, but also academically, and do the vetting. And now some of these guys, for example, Xavier Carlson, we knew from the recruiting process, so we had a really strong relationship with him. We knew who he was. There was a connection, so there's some of that as well.
Okay, we'll go to Jesse Stewart with Golden Bear Report Rivals.
Hey, Coach. So you guys had a little bit more time this year, I think, than last year, because last year the season got delayed and all the good stuff that came with that. Did that make a huge difference for you guys in recruiting and being able to like go, especially like the local schools?
Jesse, I had a hard time hearing your question. Could you ask that one more time?
Oh shoot. So you guys had a longer off season this year, since the season wasn't delayed as it was last year. Did that guys give you guys a better opportunity to visit local schools and things like that?
No, not necessarily. I think last year we adjusted due to the schedule, but we were, and it was all virtual, if you remember that, and it was productive for us in recruiting. This year was more traditional. You know, the off season, that December, January, we had a longer break, which we do not look forward to, and we're not into long breaks in the winter. We're into maybe a week or two, but we had a longer break this year, unfortunately. But the calendar and the dead period only allows us to go out on the road really the last couple of weeks. So we were on the telephone and on Zoom, but we couldn't be on the road for the last 2 weeks anyway. So I don't know that it had a major difference.
Awesome. And then I guess just one follow-up there is, you guys talked a lot about a Bay Blitz, like really trying to hit all the schools. And I think can you just talk about how important it is to like get through the Bay, like and continue action?
Jesse, once you text me your question, we'll move on and then.
Yeah, I'm going to take a shot at it here, Kyle. I think you were just asking
Sure.
about the Bay Area. Yeah, that was the first day we were able to go out. We hit a really large number of the Bay Area schools, some of which had guys that we were actively recruiting. Some have prospects for the future and some don't, but we certainly want to continue to build those relationships with the coaches and the guys in our local community. You know, having Bay Area players on our teams really, really important to us, and we're going to do our best to recruit all the guys that fit us and are interested in Cal. So yeah, we did that the very first day out, that we were able to be on the road, and we had every single coach was out there on the road making stops, and it was a really good day to get out and see some people face to face.
Thanks, Coach. Jesse, if you do have further questions, maybe just put them in the chat to you. Hopefully you got to your question there. We'll go to Jim McGill with Barron Center.
Hey, Justin, just circling back to a couple of the guys today. Do you see a little bit of Lou Hearns and Cam Sidney? They seem to have a similar aggressive playing style.
Yeah, that'd be really good. I mean, I think, you know, their high school tape, there's some similarities for sure, Jim. Both, you know, I think Cam, you just see the instinctive nature that he plays with. He's a very competitive guy, but you see him play the ball, play man-to-man, tackle, you know, PBUs, interceptions, and he just got a good feel for the game. So we, again, been recruiting him for quite a long time and had a strong feeling about him. Awesome family, really great kid to talk with, and a really sharp guy. But I think that's probably fair. But you know, there is a transition from high school to college, no matter what, and everybody transitions a little bit different. But I think Lou, you know, showed some of those same traits when he was out there at De La Salle.
With Jackson Brown, do you see him as more of a left tackle or a right tackle, and what makes him a standout on the edge?
Well, he's got some position flexibility, we think. Yeah, left tackle would be great. I think he has the ability to play right tackle as well. Heck, he can play in the interior potentially. But I think just, you know, the frame, the athleticism, the attitude, kind of chip on his shoulder that he plays with, and he's still going to grow a lot as a person. He's still a young guy. I mean, I know he's got a huge frame and he's a big kid, but he's going to continue to develop with the weight room, the nutrition program, you know, getting with Coach Johnson and then getting with Coach Angus and developing as an offensive lineman. But I think just the frame, the athleticism, the power that he showed, you know, was pretty evident in the recruiting process.
Some of Cal's best offensive lines have been with a bunch of nasty guys. Like you see that with Alex Mack playing in the NSD championship game over the last weekend. Do you see that in this offensive line group? It seems that Sioape is one of those guys that's kind of a mauler out there. Do you see that in any of the other guys too?
Yeah, I mean, that's a trait that you're always looking for. And some guys, you know, kind of built into their DNA, and some guys pick it up over time as an expectation of how you play. But I think that's a key to playing great offensive, to getting great offensive line play, is having that tough, aggressive, kind of nasty nature. And most of the great ones do play that way. And some of those guys off the field, you would never believe it because they might be quiet or this and that. But on the field, it takes an aggressive nature. It's a very, very physical position. I mean, that's the essence of the game right there at the offensive and defensive lines. It's a very physical, aggressive position, and you got to play that way to be successful.
Last question. Can you talk a little bit about what you're seeing and hearing about the new guys that are on campus with Mason and Jaden, and then Xavier, and we've got a couple of more transfers there too.
Yeah. Yep. They've really fit in well. I mean, they've been here for, a few weeks now, just getting to know the team, their workout groups, they're spending time together, locker room, in the dining hall, out on the field, conditioning and all those things. So it's been great to have them here. I think they're settling in well. There's always an adjustment period, but so many of those guys are like-minded and have similar character traits. So it's not surprising that they're settling right in.
And Jack Plummer obviously is a key guy in that group. Has there been any buzz with how he's working with the receivers and stuff like that?
Yeah, so I know they're doing some stuff on their own. We can't really be involved with that right now as coaches, but I know all those QBs and receivers and tight ends, they get some stuff going on their own. They got obviously their workouts here with Brian Johnson, our strength staff, but they've evidently been up there running around playing catch some too. So it's great when all those guys build that chemistry in the off season. It's a really important piece of it. But Jack is a talented guy. He's played a significant number of snaps, and he can throw the football. And we're really eager to get to be able to work with these guys, have them in meetings and get them on the practice field as we approach spring football.
Thanks.
There's a couple of you asked second round of questions, but let's wrap up the first round with Peter Lee from Right for California.
Hi, Coach. What does the latest recruiting class say about the future of Cal football?
Yeah, it's a great question, but we really feel good and strong about the group we brought in. It's not quite as big a number as we're at a year ago because we have a number of guys returning, but feel strong about the group. And as I mentioned before, there is a transition. I mean, it's different than playing in high school or junior college. Now we have three guys that have played, either Pac-12 or Big Ten football before. So their transition is going to be a little bit smoother, but it takes some time and each guy's a little bit different. So what's really important is they get in here, understand how we do things, the culture of the team, what's expected of them, and then get to work. And I feel really strongly about all of them. And we're glad they're here, in a year or two from now, we can give you even further evaluation of how their progress is.
And another question, with the departure of Coach Rego, who will be inheriting special teams coach duties for spring camp and the season?
Yeah, we will split up special teams on the offense and defense, and the guys that'll be in charge of the respective units have all been either special teams coordinators in their past in coaching or had those units at other places. So we've got a number of guys who are position coaches and some of our coordinators who have had those roles previously in their careers. So we'll break that up. And once we start spring football, each of those coaches will begin shaping those units.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we'll go back to Jeff Frotto from Cal Sports Report.
Justin, can you share with us sort of how you see the quarterback room, what the hierarchy or the pecking order is? You go into spring ball with Jack Plummer as your presumed number one, or is it wide open with him and the two returning young guys? Or how's that shake down at this point?
That's a critical position, as you know, Jeff. What we're going to do is get all those guys opportunities in spring football, and we will, whether it's 11 on 11 or 1-on-1 or 7-on-7, we'll make sure that every guy has an opportunity. As we move through spring football, that depth, so to speak, will start to take shape. And we don't have a timeline on naming a 1, 2, or 3 pecking order. We just want to make sure all those guys get a lot of reps. We want to make sure that they have the ability to go out there and function with the offense, and that way we can evaluate them all independently.
Is one of the issues when you bring in a transfer, an experienced guy, is one of the issues, especially maybe at quarterback, given what's going on with the transfer portal, that you might be concerned about? How does this impact the young guys? Do they sort of feel like they're being pushed back a year and maybe I need to go somewhere else? Or how do you factor all that in?
We always have to look at what's best for our team, and it doesn't mean we don't think highly of our young guys. We do. We love our young guys. I mean, I think Kai has a very bright future. Zach Johnson, same. We need quarterbacks in the room. You can't go into you can. I wouldn't advise going into a spring or a season with just a couple quarterbacks. I mean, we've all seen how things can happen and guys get dinged. So we want to make that a very competitive environment. It brings out the best in everybody. It's not an indictment on anybody's ability. It's just the nature of our sport and the competition necessary to elevate the level of play for everyone.
And if I could switch gears real quick, we haven't talked to you since you signed the contract extension, which also came with a larger salary pool for your assistants. Can you talk about that specifically and why that's important to you, and how that will be, who's in charge of divvying that up, and how it will be spread among your guys?
Yeah, I think chemistry is important on a team. It's important with a coaching staff. Retaining talented people is important. So we're, very thankful that our administration and our chancellor are supporting us and doing it the way we're doing it. They believe in how we're working with these guys and who we're bringing in here to represent Cal. And it's a very competitive environment, as we all know. And ultimately, we're judged on wins and losses. We all recognize that. But keeping that continuity in the coaching staff is important, not only for us, but the communication with the players, the speaking the same language and not having to relearn or maybe adjust to a new coaching verbiage or new coaching style, each year in your position rooms. So I think it's key. And so it doesn't mean we're going to be able to keep every assistant coach every time, but it gives us a much better chance to retain talented people, and not just coaches. I'm talking to, support staff. And we have a really great support staff here, and recruiting and operations and all the strength and conditioning. And so all those things are important. All those roles are important, and it allows us to keep those people and even hire new people as we look to continue to grow the program.
And you certainly wouldn't categorize what's going on as a revolving door of assistants, but I don't believe you have any of the people that started with you your first year on your staff. And how important is that continuity, and how much can you achieve with this change?
Yeah, I think it's really inevitable in college football. Very rare is it that a group can stay together for 5 years and not have anybody change. Maybe at certain places, as people have career goals and they have family decisions to make, and the people that have taken opportunities from here, whether it's to be an offensive coordinator or a step up in their career or be a head coach in Charlie's instance, Gerald went on to the NFL. So we've had those things happen, and that's, you know, if it's better for them and their families, then I'm going to support them. That's just part of it. We just don't. What we don't want to do is lose people laterally. You know, we want to try and guard against that as much as we can. And can we do it every time? I don't know, but we're going to make it. My job is to make it a lot harder for them to leave. I'd say that.
If you will indulge me one more, can you talk about Jackson Sermon a little bit? And obviously you had some connection with him. And what do you guys see in him as a player besides what you know about him as a young man?
Yeah. Well, we got a staff member who's known him as long as one person could know another person. So that was a good start. And Jack is, you know, played high school football, started out down at Loyola in LA, and then he went out to Brentwood in Nashville and was a really good high school player. I was actually at Wisconsin when he was coming out. We were trying to recruit him there, and he ended up up at Washington. He's done a really good job. Very, very productive player, tough, you know, instinctive. He's a physical guy. And so when this all came about, you know, it kind of was brought to my attention, and you know, I was all for it. I mean, he can help our team. Jackson can help our team. We have a good group of inside linebackers, but he's another guy that can really help us. And so he was excited to come down. And as I mentioned, we had to in with the family, so that doesn't hurt.
How does the dynamic of that work so that it's not sort of tampering or you know, that it stays above board and legal?
Yeah,
that father and son.
Yeah, that's a great question, Jeff, because we brought that up immediately with our compliance office to make sure we were all above board. But when you're related to the person that's going into the transfer portal, it does, you know, that's father-son discussion, not tampering discussion. So we were put at ease and made sure we followed the rules along the way. And but yeah, that's a unique one.
Thank you.
Yep.
Then we'll go back to Peter Lee from
Hi,
for California.
Yes. With your contract extension up to 2027, does it help recruits see the vision for Cal football going forward? And what is the Wilcox vision for the program for the next 5 years?
Yeah. Well, I think it gives us the ability to talk to our recruits and their families about the support we receive from our administration and the chancellor. And we feel like we're on the verge of doing something really special here. Obviously, last year we had some very difficult, close losses, and we need to make up those margins. And we think we can accomplish some very lofty goals that we've set for ourselves. And we have the right culture in the locker room, and the players are bought in, and they work extremely well together. And now we need to go find those inches that make the difference between winning and losing. And every coach, myself, and everybody in the building has got to find a way to be that much better so we can find ways to win those games. And there are no excuses for myself or our players not to get that done, but it takes a lot of hard work and dedication and commitment to the team. So it feels good to be able to talk to them about that, but we have a lot of goals left to achieve.
Thank you. Happy Lunar New Year.
Thank you.
Hey, guys, anybody with a final question? Also, just wanted to make sure you did see the announcement, March 16th, Pro Day. April 6th will be the first day of spring football, and April 30th, the spring game. So looks like actually Jeff has one more. Go ahead, Jeff.
Justin, Michael Luckhurst has announced that he's coming. Is he a preferred walk-on? Can you talk about that? And is he a kicker or punter, or you're not sure yet?
Now, Kyle, yeah, all I can say is by the rules, and this is probably one they should change, but all I can say right now is we are recruiting Michael, and look forward to talking to you about him when it's compliant.
Yeah, and do you look forward to talking to us about him as a punter or a kicker?
We are recruiting him as a kicker who could punt the ball, and we are actively recruiting him.
Thank you very much. You balanced that nicely.
Yeah, you got it.